Hey, good morning, guys. Welcome back to Everyday Struggle. Nadeska, Akademiks and Wayno here. Pretty somber Monday morning, right? Never the way you want to start the week. So Nipsey Hussle died yesterday at the age of 33. He was shot and killed in Los Angeles outside of his Marathon clothing store. 2 other people were reportedly wounded as well. And now hundreds of fans, friends, and local residents gathered out front of his store to pay their respects, including people like YG. We've been celebrating Nipsey recently. You know, he finally released his debut album Victory Lap last year. He recently covered GQ with his girlfriend Lauren London, but more importantly, he was just really heavily involved in helping his community. He owned several businesses there, including a burger restaurant, a barbershop, a fish market. He donated a ton of money to schools to renovate playgrounds, basketball courts. He even opened a co-working space there last year called Vector 90 to call attention to the lack of diversity in science, technology, and engineering. And worst of all, he was actually supposed to meet with LA police chiefs today to talk about ways he could help stop gang violence. Just a very, very sad day for hip hop and the culture.
Yeah, this was very tough for me because I had a nice cordial relationship with Nipsey. I'm trying to, I've cried, you know what I mean? I've laughed at the good times I had. No matter where I was at, he could be walking with 15 people. He would divert everybody to come over to me to say what's up. I just recently seen him in what's the last place I was at? I seen him at Grammy weekend. And I saw him at the Dreamville brunch. I was walking in, he was leaving. And I've known Nipsey since 2009. I actually met him through Johnny Shipes, who first had him before he signed to Epic. I got a chance to see him rise. I had a clothing line at one point in time. We did his first Breakfast Club interview. Karen called me. She was like, yo, come through, bring some hats for Nipsey. He put a hat on. He took 20 pictures in my hats. I sold a few of them more because I was able to use that picture. I mean, when I think of Nipsey, I just think of how no matter what it is that you was doing, he always wanted to help. He always wanted to know what was going on with you. So, it was very tough for me. It was very tough for me. Just knowing what he had just accomplished, where he was going, like you said, doing the We Work kind of spaces where he was trying to kind of change the idea of the neighborhood of, just gang banging and all of that, trying to get people to elevate and rise from that. It's really tough seeing something like this,
Yeah, I didn't know Nipsey like you, but I know some of the Everyday Struggle viewers, they probably, they've seen it online, hey, he came to Everyday Struggle one time, he walked out. The full story behind that, I don't really think it was ever told. Me and Nipsey, after going back and forth a little bit, salute to Karen Sibley, I know she's hurting right now, second loss in less than, it seems 6 months. We got on the phone, me and Nipsey, and we spoke like men for about 3 hours. And it was probably one of the most productive conversations I've had because we were trying to get to a place of understanding of each other rather than just argue online or stuff going elsewhere, right? And pretty much what I realized and I took away from that conversation about him is that Nipsey is and was a man of the community.
Right.
It was community first. His whole points in the stuff he was saying to me is that, yo, Ak, you have a real big platform. I'm a rapper, I have a platform as well, and while other people might use their platforms differently, I know that there are people who come from areas and places like me, they need to see certain things that they could make decisions out better themselves. So, the conversations we had, it was really trying to get to a point of not only bettering ourselves as men, but bettering people around him. And that's how I look at Nipsey. I look at Nipsey as probably the example and one of the guys who are leading the charge in showing rappers, hey, yo, listen, you don't have to really be scared of your neighborhood. You're supposed to really establish businesses, give back, and this was the appropriate way. You get me? I think it's so sad because what he was doing was furthering the whole culture. He was furthering a mindset. It was furthering people just in terms of black business. And to see this happen, it's like we were taking a couple steps forward and now it's almost, it seems ruined.
It's pretty disgusting. I'll say for me, it was a privilege to have known this man. I got a chance, when I used to manage Dave East, we went to his neighborhood. I'm talking about 63rd and Crenshaw, on his block while he shot a video, went to his studio later. I'm like, yo, this studio is pretty nice. He yo, my homeboy, he does all the work. If you ever want to build one, we'll fly him out to New York. You let me know when you're ready. He always was just eager to give you any knowledge you could on how to further yourself for further anything he was doing, and he would just ask. Like, but every time I'm on the show and I wear like, you know, Slauson hat, stuff like that, is because like to keep his brand going.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because he's supported mine,
and he's been like
yeah,
that
it's
forever.
like,
I went
yeah,
down like a YouTube hold last night watching one of his very, very old interviews, because I've only had brief encounters with him, like interviews, and he's very polite, you know what I mean? You always learn a lot from him. And even this video must have been at minimum 10 years old. He looks like a baby in it, and he's already talking about how he doesn't want to waste his money on chains and jewelry and cars and things that depreciate. He wants to buy assets and give back to the community and buy real estate. Like, he's always had that mentality, very forward thinking. So I don't know, this one just really, really hurts. Just like knocked the air out of me last night.
Yeah, like this the first artist that like something like this happened to that I knew. You know, that's why it's like, I couldn't believe it. Like, one of my friends called me. I sat there for like 10 minutes in silence. Like, I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it, you know. And condolences to his family. Like, first of all, he's a father first. Like, he's a father. He's a community leader. He was like just an amazing person. Like, to know him was to love him. I never got a chance to tell him I loved him, but I love that man. You know what I mean? Like, like I said, like, last time I seen him, he's like, make sure you go past the store, you know what I mean, grab some stuff, but we're gonna send you something extra. So for me, I'm gonna always make sure that I run my own marathon, you know what I'm saying? I think that's what he wanted everybody to do, is run it in their own way. That's why he always embedded that in the people, you know, so.
Yeah, his impact is gonna last forever.
Absolutely.
Rest in peace, Nipsey. All right, sorry, it's always extremely uncomfortable to go from such a horrible story back to talking about news, but, you know, we're here. So, Lil Nas X, so he's a new Columbia Records artist. He has one of the surprise viral hits of 2019 with a trap country song called Old Town Road. Now, the song actually made history. It became the first song to ever hit Billboard's country and R&B and hip hop charts. But 1 week after it debuted at number 19 on the Hot Country Songs chart, it was actually removed. So Billboard told Rolling Stone that the song, quote, doesn't embrace enough elements of today's country music. They added that it was determined that the song does not currently merit inclusion on Billboard's country charts. They went on to say that when determining genres, a few factors are examined, but first and foremost is musical consumption. So they're saying, although like it references things like cowboy imagery, does not embrace enough of the elements of today's country music to qualify it. And then in another statement to Genius, a spokesperson for Billboard clarified that the song was not taken off the country chart because of his race. Lil Nas X obviously disagrees. He told Time magazine that the song is country trap. It's not one, it's not the other, it's both, and it should be on both. A lot of celebrities have spoken up on his behalf, including Tyga and Billy Ray Cyrus. What do you guys think about this? Should it be included on both charts?
Honestly, yeah. You know, like, the message I kind of got from this was that, like, at least when it comes to, like, country music, there's pretty rigid rules, and they're not really open to much growth. You know, in hip-hop these days, we accept a lot of stuff and still call it, or say that it falls within the umbrella of hip-hop or rap or whatever. But country music really is not accepting. I listened to the song. The song is great, by the way. Like, I hear some trap elements, but I hear a lot of country elements in it. To keep it real, if I never saw the imagery and seen the artist before I heard the song, I'd probably think he was some hillbilly singing a country song. And honestly, I think this is a clever way how to kind of remove someone who's probably gaining some steam in the country world and other places. And I'm wondering if only, like, say, Billboard is going to acknowledge this, because, you know, what really matters in terms of, like, this song's like #1 or like top 5. What matters is also Spotify and Apple Music. Do they put it on, like, the hot new country songs list, or they're gonna just say, you know what, well, Billboard says this, so we're just gonna classify it as hip hop? I think it's very unfortunate, and without trying to just pull the easy race card, I can't just look at this and say, if he had probably been white.
Like, if he was a white singer who made a country song that incorporated trap elements, it would be a completely different story.
Yeah, it's definitely a race card. Like, I mean, of course they can't say that. Of course they're not gonna say that, right? But like you said, like in hip hop, we're always accepting of, like, any. We very funny with how we pick our white rappers, the ones we support or not, right? But we definitely always say hip hop is an open thing. Like, anybody could get in it. Hip hop is not determined by your color. It's determined by, you know, your lifestyle. If you live this lifestyle, I mean, if this kid actually likes country and he wanted to fuse it with trap. What's the problem? I think that when it comes to country, it's a very old idea on how they do music. I mean, they still sell millions of physical copies still till this day, which you could hardly find a CD player in any of our homes. I think that this is a little bit messed up. You know what I mean? I think that it's a little bit messed up because, again, like, we're always accepting, but we see that it's not the grass is not green on the other side. And I don't know, man. Like, I'm at a loss of words for stuff like this. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. Like, it doesn't make sense to me.
You know, we could have seen this coming a while ago because, you know, first of all, you know, Uzi and those type of artists, they claim they're rock stars. And I mean, you maybe could make a slight argument that some of the music they make could fit and be multi-genre, but they're always classified, always exclusively classified as hip hop. But not only that, like Uzi, I mean, Ugly God, and a couple other artists, they either jokingly or they were serious about it, but they said, yo, we're putting out a country song. So they've dropped country songs before or intended country songs. And yeah, of course, hip hop fans, because they have a lot of hip hop fans consumed it, but the Billboard and whatever else, like entities like that, they didn't acknowledge it. So it is kind of like, you kind of have to look at even the charts kind of like the what's it called, the one drop rule. We're like, yo, if it got a little bit of 808, that's hip hop. Yeah. You get me? If you don't have the white skin and everything else that sounds really country, it's not country.
I don't like rap. This is why I don't like rappers saying that they're not rappers, right? Because we're always looking for acceptance from somebody else, but we never bigging up our own shit. This is why I always say, like, we have to have our own hip hop Hall of Fame, because if we entering our hip-hop legends into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, what does that further? Rock and roll culture. All the whole, I'm a rock star because I mess with groupies all night and I get high. Okay, if that's what they do, why are you not a rapper? Like, what makes you not a rapper? Because it's cool to use the trampoline as a rapper to jump to being a rock star, but once you in that light, you forget about what got you there. I really can't dig, I can't dig this because we're always so fast to run to another culture just for them to close the doors and say, nah, nigga, this is not what you was thinking. You know, and this is a prime example. Like, this is definitely a prime example. Because if Taylor Swift makes a dope song and she's rapping, everybody be like, oh shit, I didn't know she could rap. Right? And they'd be like, yeah, like, same shit with Miley Cyrus. When Miley Cyrus was twerking and doing all that other wild shit, everybody was like, yo, Miley, she actually fucks with our shit. But when we try something with this, wrong, right? Stop bigging up everybody else shit. We gotta start bigging up our own.
Yeah, this genre classification thing is going to get more and more dicey as we move forward. But actually, we're going to have this conversation with Taylor Bennett, specifically how it regards to, like, Chicago hip hop, just how, like, the music culture out there is evolving. So he's coming up in a few minutes on the show. But just to address some news we talked about last week, remember we talked about Harlem rapper Melii. She dropped her debut album Phases, and Tory Lanez announced at the same time that she was signed to his imprint One Umbrella. So Meek Mill was not happy about this. He did jump into the comments and said it was a corny move on both of their parts, and then eventually deleted. So Melii actually addressed this in a very long statement on social media last weekend. She said she never intended to snake anyone and claimed that she was put in some very uncomfortable situations while she was out on tour with Meek, and that's why she felt like the deal didn't make sense. So she said in an Instagram post, "Not once have I bashed Meek or ever plan on doing so. I got off tour because of a lot of behind the scenes things that were happening to me. I made sure to go out of my way to do things that could help me stay with the team because I genuinely wanted to be a part of the family, but it just didn't work out." And she just goes on to say, as a woman, a lot of things I stood for weren't there, so I took the high road and gracefully removed myself. It's just unfortunate that, I don't know, her debut project is out. She should be, like, celebrating that she has to be going through this publicly, but you know how social media is.
Yeah, and I mean, I hear all that, but, like, I talked to a few people. She ain't tell nobody that she was doing this.
Really? So she just
she ain't tell nobody that she was doing this. As far as the people that was, like, closely involved with her on the Dream Chaser side. So, like, I don't know her. I mean, I've met Melii a few times. She's a sweet girl. I'll say that first and foremost. She's a very sweet girl, very cool. But the thing about doing business is, I'm looking at it from the fact of this. I never knew that Tory Lanez even knew who this girl was, right?
And she's saying that they had a relationship and the deal was maybe on the table before, that it wasn't so sudden. But you're saying that, like, Meek literally found out on Instagram.
Yeah, I mean, this was a management situation anyway. You know what I mean? Like, she's already signed to Interscope, so you can't put somebody in a production deal once they're already signed to a label. To my understanding, I mean, it's obvious. Like, Meek put her on a song on he shared one of his biggest moments with her. Right. When I went to the studio, Meek played me the record with her and the record with Cardi B and was like, which one should I keep? And I was like, yo, the Cardi B joint is a little stronger. I did like that one, but he ended up keeping both anyway. So he shared a big platform with her, had her opening up and bringing her out to do her song with him on his set. Then to have to see something like that on social media, it's kind of crazy. Like, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like tomorrow if I go do some crazy shit and I don't tell none of y'all.
Like I find out you could everyday struggle on Instagram.
Yeah, and exactly. And I ain't say nothing to none of y'all or some shit like that. Y'all be like, damn, like, brought this nigga in here, like, gave him the opportunity to be a media personality. He just gonna go do that. So I don't know. Like, I can't really dig that.
So she also did an interview with Nessa over on Hot 97 and addressed the social media aspect of it, saying like, look, at the end of the day, all three of us are somewhat connected. The way it could have been handled is just like my generation, we take things to social media. So Ak, your take last week was sort of, you felt Meek had an emotional response and shouldn't have jumped on the internet. So knowing this now, if that's really what went down, like he found out on social media, do you feel the same way?
I mean, kind of knowing a little bit more, and I talked to a few other people that seem a little bit more knowledgeable on what was going on. I still think this is more of a Tory and Meek's thing. You get me? Like, if I'm hearing that, I can't blame her if she's in an uncomfortable position. And from what I was hearing, again, I don't know how they run things or how things was run on that tour, but she didn't feel like she was seen as an artist.
Right.
She was in situations with people where she felt like they weren't taking her serious. They were either like, she shows to a studio or whatever, they're trying to kick game to her. Like, she's an artist and a woman, maybe she didn't feel comfortable in expressing that. So I'm not gonna knock her for be like, yo, you should let someone know. Because in that type of situation where like you're in an environment where that might be the status quo, not saying it is. How do you just come out and be like, yo, I don't like this? You're gonna look crazy. You get me? Now, I do think Tory, being someone who seemingly is cool with Meek, right? And if an opportunity opened up or you're hearing that she's uncomfortable in a situation that, I mean, just off being a gentleman, right? You get me? Like, you could be a gentleman in business.
Right.
These looks is the setup to sign in to a management deal or some type of situation. You don't swoop in even if she's uncomfortable without getting, I don't want to say even approval, but giving Meek the heads up.
Yeah.
So you should, but I'm not going to blame it on her. I'm going to say Tory. Tory should have gave Meek the heads up like, yo, hey, listen, she's not feeling comfortable, this and third. I don't know if you guys can rectify, but she's seeking other management. I'm interested. You feel me? Mm-hmm. I think to put the pressure on her if she's already saying she's uncomfortable, I mean,
well, the whole thing is that a lot of uncomfortable situations get resolved by conversation, right?
But do you disagree that if Tory and Meek didn't have a relationship, that's one thing, but since they have worked together more than once.
Even if they don't have a relationship, I feel like that's in poor taste. Like, if me and you may even be cool, but if I know you got something over there and it's something that could be, like, if somebody that's over there with you is like, yo, I want to come fuck with you, we both, I would call Tory a boss in his realm, right, of what he's doing. He's building his company. He's an artist that puts out tons of music. It does very well. We always say he's one of the most talented people. That is nothing but a conversation. Yo, what's good? Such and such, da, da. We could figure out how we could do it together, or if I'm just going to do it, or if you're not going to do it, or we could just both leave it alone. But I think, like, because they got records together,
right?
They got videos, all types of shit. To have to find out on social, everything that you don't know, if you find out on social media, you're gonna be upset about. I don't give a fuck what it is.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? So it just looked like it was handled poorly in the end. You know, and it's gonna affect Melii first because it's her name is the headline.
Yeah, and you know, while again, I'm guessing her speaking to Nessa was pretty much a cleanup as well, because I know she put that statement up on her Instagram story, but boy, was she liking a bunch of comments that was insinuating certain things. Like she was liking comments saying, hey, there's a lot of misogynistic stuff going on over on one side. And again, you know, I feel bad for her on that realm. You know, this is going to kind of like, this is pretty much like a black cloud over a whole project.
Right.
Again, I'm going to say Tory and Meek, man. Tory and Meek, they should have had conversation. Tory, if you know, like if I'm also hearing that Tory heard about the situation, right? It's like if me and you, mans, and you have an artist that you're courting, because that's what it is. That's the courting process, right? And your artist it could be for whatever reason, might want to look at other options, and I see an opportunity, if I just go poach your artist and don't even say anything to you, looks crazy.
Absolutely.
It looks crazy. And, you know, I'm pretty sure that got rectified from boss to boss. Like, you know what? Y'all was wrong here.
Did it though? Since you guys have both spoken to people, are they making moves to make any amends here?
I mean, I haven't spoken to Meek. I mean, I don't really speak to Tory much, but I don't know. Like,
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that a phone call was probably made after that.
Yeah, I heard a conversation got made. That's why the comments deleted. You get me? So Meek didn't leave it up. And, you know, we haven't heard much more from it, but you know who's going to be forced to answer because she got to go on a press run?
Right.
Melii.
Unfortunate for her.
So.
All right. Bad business. It happens to all of us, unfortunately.
By the way, though, I do, you know what? I do feel bad for Meek in this whole situation, though, because, like, I think Meek is one of those people where, like, before, like, the ink is dry, like, he's showering you with love.
Yeah.
Like, he's showering you with love.
He's excited.
Yeah, no, but, like, other artists, too. Like, y'all found out mad artists through Meek Mill. You know what I mean? Like, he'll throw somebody up on his page and give them a really big platform. And, you know, like, like Roddy Ricch. Like Roddy Ricch, I found out from Meek's page. Like never heard of him before. Seen him on Meek's page. He was doing this rap and he was walking on the street with Inez Banks, I believe. And I was like, damn, yo, that song is fire. Who is this kid? I look him up. He's from Compton. And of course, like in the music business, if that's the case, nigga, you gonna be signed to me, or we gonna have some type of business because that type of co-sign is priceless.
Right.
I feel like that probably happens to a lot of people, though.
All the time.
You know what I mean? Putting
all the
someone
time.
on and then they don't end up staying with you, it happens.
And but then when you start
No,
looking
but
at
I think some people wait till the paperwork signed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Until they do it.
But
Yeah.
I think Meek just shows
Genuinely
love
shows
and expects
love.
you to show love back
Right.
Yeah.
until they get a situation.
It's like, but then you see other artists and it's like, you be like, damn, why he ain't never put nobody on? And it'd be reasons like this. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I'm pretty sure it's tons of people that they weren't vocal about the shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm pretty sure Drake has probably tried to sign artists aside from Weeknd and all of them, you know what I mean, that was probably bubbling and they went somewhere else. You know what I mean? He might just handle it a different way. But I think every artist that's in an executive role has probably had one of these situations at one time or another.
And also to compliment Meek a little bit more, trust me, I ain't signed to the Chasers. I like what he got going on with the management thing. You know, he got I feel like he's building a nice solid roster of young artists. They look to him more than many other older artists as like a direct like representation of what they want to embody in their music. And you know, he's showing them love and they're showing him love too. So, you know, hopefully he continues with that because, you know, if that could be an extension of the Dream Chasers brand, like I won't say the record label is the biggest thing ever, you know, even though he has an imprint, but this management thing could really show really the respect that he's garnered for having that top spot as like the top street rapper out here. You get me?
Right.
So we'll see.
All right, much love to Meek. All right, in other confusing business situations, the Free Uzi movement continues. So you guys know Uzi Vert is like had this issue with Generation Now. He's signed to Roc Nation Management now, and apparently things are getting better. But last week he released a song called Free Uzi. So now on the song, he's rapping over a beat from G Herbo's song Gangway. So the track was eventually added to multiple streaming services, but then it was taken down, and TMZ is actually saying the issue is Uzi did not clear the sample, although the producer of the song says he owns the beat 100% and Uzi could do whatever he wants. So it's a bit confusing, but an Atlantic rep said, told Complex actually that it was a leaked song and that's why it was taken down.
You know what? A lot of people hit me up about this over the weekend. What people fail to realize is this. When people say a leaked song, a leaked song is a record that no business was done on. So in order for a record to come out, there needs to be clearances, right? The lyrics, first and foremost, you got to get the lyrics submitted to the label, right? You have to get the lyrics submitted. You have to get the record paid, the beat paid for. You have to work out the royalty splits. You have to work out the publishing splits, the writing splits. And it doesn't matter if the producer's saying, I own the beat. He could use the beat. You never signed nothing that was given to you by Atlantic Records.
Right.
So all these people hitting me up like, yo, Generation Now is hating on Uzi. They're taking his music down. No, that's not the case. Uzi is signed to Generation Now and Atlantic, which is under Warner Music Group, which is a Fortune 500 company.
Right.
Are you going to give out a bunch of fucking Mercedes-Benzes and tell people get you your money later? No. You have to handle the business in order to use it. So
if you're indie, this is cool. A producer owns the beat, he gives it to you, you figure out whatever, it's fine. But as long as you're signed to a major,
Not
you can't
necessarily
ever be
either.
dropping. No.
No, indie, that's another misconception. Everybody thinks that the indie means out of your pocket. No, there are indie companies. The reason why they're indie is because they take less of a percentage of the profit share of the product that they're putting out. But a lot of indies are distributed through what's the name of Sony or Epic. You know what I mean? Like all of these subsidiary companies are just indies. They just use them as a thing, so it doesn't look like if you're not succeeding on a high level on an indie, but you're doing okay, it looks better than if you're absolutely not succeeding on a major, right? On a major, they'd be like, oh, it's a failure. On an indie, it's like, oh, he's doing okay. So it's just like a marketing mind fuck almost.
So now Uzi's a smart guy, and he's been signed long enough that I'm sure he knows this, or he might have assumed this was gonna happen, right? You think this is just part of the campaign?
I think Uzi is doing a great magic trick with everyone. He knows what's going on.
Great magic trick.
Oh, at least you know now.
No. Well, to some extent, right? Like putting out this record, like if you don't get anything clear, you're right. So the original beat is G Herbo Gangway, right? The producer might say that, and like random rappers who are up and coming might just drop like a remix or whatever, and it might not get taken down. But even if it's not an automated system, someone using that beat which somebody else owns, and it's getting 3 million views in a day, oh no, it's coming down.
It's coming down.
It's coming down. Right. We got to get the percentages right. We got to see what's going on. We're not waiting till later. And I'm pretty sure after some conversations was done internally somehow, it went back up, or it's not going back up. So, of course, Uzi is going to use that to further his propaganda. But initially, what I said last week, Uzi is upset whether he's right, whether he's wrong, whether his interpretation is right or wrong. He feels he's in a bad deal. You know, some more stuff came out via TMZ. There's emails that a couple blogs have seen, just going back and forth, where pretty much he's upset about his current deal. They're allegedly working out terms to a new deal, and we'll see if what happens.
What I do know for a fact is that Jay-Z has had a conversation with Generation M. I do know that for a fact. That he's had, I don't know what the conversation entailed, but I know that he's had a conversation with Drama in them, you know? So we'll see how this goes.
Wow.
Somebody told me that there's mad hands in the pot. I'm hoping this is not true, because I would like, this sounds so crazy, like Uzi. There's somebody compared his deal to something that Wayne is in.
Wow.
Hopefully that's not true.
It's not, but
yeah.
Okay, we'll see.
So much mixed news. Let's do one quick hit, and then let's get Taylor out here to talk some more music. All right, so over the weekend, a clip of Power actor Omari Hardwick greeting Beyonce at the NAACP Awards went viral because he gave her 2 kisses, and people thought it went too far. Let's take a look. Was this just an awkward encounter, or do you guys feel like he crossed the line? He was getting a lot of backlash on social media all weekend.
Talk about being fucking too hype. Like he was, I think he just was in the moment. Like first off, me personally, unless I have a relationship with one of my friends' wives, I'm not kissing you. A hug might be cool if we're like that. I'm not gonna kiss you on your cheek and all of that. A handshake is feasible. You know what I mean? If that's the relationship you have. A hug, kiss, and then another kiss.
Yo, what about a double cheek kiss? What's the problem?
That's what I'm saying. Like
he was trying to do, he just caught it on the same side, on the side of the lip.
No. He was. I think that, and then of course, Jay-Z is not gonna swing on this dude or nothing like that, right? I just think that he got caught up in the moment. I'm not excusing it, huh?
It was Solange.
Cut it out. Cut it out.
Oh, okay, never mind.
No, man, but honestly, I think he just got caught up in the moment. I mean, he's a married man. I don't think it was no malice there. I just think that he just was hype. You know what I mean? That's all it is.
Man, I think that nigga just saw his one shot and try to, you know what I mean, get a little bit more. They're not saying he was trying to violate, but, you know what I mean? Like, he held on to her a little bit too long, too, man. You know, maybe it was hype, but it looked like somebody knowing that this is their only shot to really, you know, get a little love from Beyonce, not necessarily mean a kiss, and he wanted to get as much as he could.
Let's just go for the handshake next time.
Yeah, just go for the handshake.
I was waiting for the pepper spray.
You stupid.
Okay.
I mean, you see J. Cole, see Gabrielle Union, he gave her a pound. Like,
He gave her a
Jay
pass.
didn't even see it. If I was thinking, if you're Jay and Beyonce.
But what would he even do then make it awkward? Maybe he had he
that
said
do?
something later, but like
Mush
in
him.
that moment, mush him.
That's my wife.
Get out of here.
Get out of here, dog.
Oh, man.
And also, like, the look that Beyonce had that little, that was uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You get me? Like, I don't know.
That was crazy.
What about the security? Don't they have, like, Secret Service around
But
there?
again, what would he have done? Jump
Nobody's
in the
not gonna
middle?
whoop his ass right
It
then
happened
and
too
there.
quickly
That nigga Stone
to.
Cold Stunner, man. You just touched the queen. What's wrong with you?
Maybe next time there's always prep talk. Like if you're gonna approach the queen, handshakes only.
I
Or a
guarantee
pound.
they're going to have, like, what's that shit called? The little Purell joint to make sure she wipe her hands after she touches
All right, man.
filthy animals, you know?
Yo, we're gonna pause for a second. We're gonna be right back, and Taylor Bennett is gonna join us on set.
Oh, nice.
All right, guys, we're back, and as promised, we have Taylor Bennett with us. Came all the way from Chicago. Good morning.
What's up, yo? How you
Welcome to
feeling?
Everyday Struggle.
Should we do like fist bumps? We could do
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
we're
should
now
do the
scared
fist
for.
bump.
Everybody
we
gotta
don't
get-
wanna,
Everybody doing the fist bumps. We
you
keeping
know,
the same
there's
energy.
no hugs here. We
2019,
don't want to make
yeah.
No
things
fans of hugs
awkward.
anymore. Just fist
Yeah, no, thanks for having me on the show, guys. I appreciate it. I've been a big fan for a long time, so.
Now we live we're always talking about Chicago music and the evolution of it. So who better to
Yeah.
talk to than an
Thank
actual
you.
artist from Chicago? And Complex Con Chicago is coming up, and
Yeah.
Taylor's actually going to be there. So
Yeah,
it just
yeah.
made sense. What were you talking about earlier, Lil Nas X and this whole like country trap thing?
Yeah.
And we always talk about like Juice WRLD and how like his music is evolving. So Ak was a big fan of like the drill scene, but like Chicago rap has changed a lot over the past few years, hasn't it?
Yeah, Chicago music has really changed a lot. I think it's a lot more diverse. Something that's really different about Chicago, I think anywhere that you go that has so much of a story, you're always going to find art, whether it's music, fashion, even just the entertainment business, and even on the outside, political activism, stuff like that. And I think a lot of these different changes within the city have changed the perspectives of what artists are writing and what we talk about. Even, touching major platforms like Barack Obama reaching back into the city. And there's always just something that's going on in Chicago to talk about. And I think that that's kind of the narrative that keeps us going and keeps us growing. But there's been like a big, I think, rock vibe that's definitely joined. You know what I'm saying? You see different artists like Juice WRLD, even me, I've been incorporating like a lot of electric guitar, especially with the new project that I got on the way. And yeah, so, it's a lot of vibe, but we're the home of like blues, you know what I'm saying? So, it's not that too far-fetched. I think it's just really coming all back into perspective for us, you know what I'm saying?
At what point did you see like that starting to change? Because I think now it's like really in full motion where you could be accepting of all different type of music come from Chicago. Instead, like a couple years back, or I would say 5+ years back, you kind of expected a sound.
Yeah.
Maybe even a look from artists from Chicago when you
Definitely.
think about.
Well, I think that's like really in any situation, in any city you go to, especially because of how labels typically work. You guys were talking about that earlier in the show. They really dig in and they grab one group of people and, they try to make that the face of the brand and usually the face of the city because, every artist needs the support of his own city. I think that 4 or 5 years ago, there's always been, kind of rock music kids these days, like Vic Mensa's old group. They were always really incorporating all kinds of different instruments and music like that, chants, but I think that it took a long time for, as an independent side, because that's the side that we were all coming from in the beginning, for us to get our name out there, for us to get that story out there. But, I think that Chicago, there's still a culture that's still suppressed there, and it's still, opening up. You see people like No Name Gypsy, you see people like Saba, Superboy, a lot of different people that are coming out of Chicago right now that, are sounding very, very much so different, but it's actually been a long-term process building up their fan base. So they have like a lot of support, a really, concrete foundation.
It's really interesting what you said because like me growing up like from Chicago, my introduction was like Crucial Conflict.
Yeah.
Or Do or Die.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then
Facts.
Twista. Like so
Yeah.
everybody
Facts.
they kind of boxed around that time. They boxed everybody in there rapping really fast.
Yeah.
And then we got Kanye. And then for me, what I saw the most diversity with Chicago, well, after Kanye was Lupe.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Lupe, I always say this, like he's the first time I've ever heard Go Yard on a track. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's so many different things, but he's like this worldly dude. Like he's a Muslim that knows karate, that's
Right.
into like Japanese art. So he got a chance to show like a nice side of Chicago, but I didn't really see them gravitate, as far as labels, gravitate to kind of grabbing artists like that. Like I think
Right.
if Saba, maybe an artist like Saba around that time would have been, not saying that he's not big because he's blowing up
Yeah,
crazy.
he's blown up. He's
But
blown
imagine
crazy.
if around that time he'd be like an enormous artist. I haven't seen too much of them trying to grab that type
But I
of
think
sound.
it's still like, Chicago is the only city where, we have the biggest independent artists in the world, whether it's Chance or it's me, in terms of actually, I think, fulfilling things that superstars do. Like we did, I did Good Morning America last year. We did Stephen Colbert to kick off this year. We did Jimmy Fallon last year. Trying to basically, because you guys were talking about indie artists earlier, it's very hard to have the blueprint. And in terms of making these calls, even when I was coming here to do Everyday Struggle, my homie's like, yo, how you getting that gig? You know what I'm saying? And I think that there's a whole process that you really got to go through, and that process is really only in Chicago because we have people like Chance that are still in the city, that still have open mic, that are still throwing and giving back benefits to help other artists that are on the come up. And you see them supporting all of us constantly. And I think that, you know, there's the same kind of vibes in Atlanta right now with like Thug, you know what I'm saying? Shout out Lil Key, Lil Got It, you know what I'm saying? Those guys that are coming up right now, they have like the same kind of structure of now there's a process. And in Atlanta, they've always had Jermaine Dupri. They've always had that, you know, music's nothing really new there. But for Chicago, you know, independence is an industry now, but it's something that's still very new. And, you know, we're still working on it. So,
do you feel like fans in Chicago and outside of the city react to your music differently? So you said like you're working on a new project, you're adding elements of electric guitar, etc. Since Chicago is so mixed musically, do the fans in Chicago expect it, whereas maybe you're on tour in New York and people like, what's happening here?
No, I think that like the overall thing kind of is like in Chicago, it's very different. Everybody's putting out something, and when I say that, shout out to you, by the way. I saw you did the interview with Lil Reese. I think that's real dope. Appreciate the fact that you've always, you know, really helped find, kind of capture Chicago artists, and now you helping give back. That's real dope. But if you see like Lil Reese, he's putting out new music, you know what I'm saying? Dirk just put out new music, you know what I'm saying? You got Chance working on the album. I just had my projects coming out. No Name put out Room 25, Raven Lenae's on tour, Saba's doing his work, and you know, there's still so many different artists that I didn't even name. We're not even, Keith is about to put out a new project. Herbo's putting out a new project. Juice WRLD just dropped his album. Like, it's so many people that, you know what I'm saying, really are coming out. So musically in Chicago, I think what's so dope about it is that we're always looking for the next best thing. So it's not so much about expecting, it's about being surprised, you know what I'm saying? And can you keep that energy?
Right.
In terms of like diversity, like your last project, Be Yourself.
Yeah.
Like, were you nervous before you put that shit out? Like, you know, because I could, like, I seen you address, and but it wasn't like you know, defensive. You owned up to it. You were like, yo, I know I'm the first person doing some shit like this. Were you nervous before you put it out?
Yeah, I think that, you know, there's always, you know, that feeling, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, I think something that's very important, a story that I love is Will Smith talks about fear. And he talks about, imagine you telling all these different people I'm about to go skydiving, and you go for months and months and you telling everybody every day, you getting everything together, you got your fit, you got your special expensive jacket, whatever you're gonna jump out in, and then you get all the way up there, and the only thing that's holding you back from actually jumping off of that plane is fear. You know, and fear holds so many different people back, and it stops so many people from being able to tell and share their true story. And for me, as an African American that comes from Chicago and as an independent artist that works so hard to get into these places, it would be wrong for me to not give my fans that. It would be wrong for me to neglect being able to tell my story based off of what other people might perceive me as, because, you know, at the end of the day, success is what you consider success. You know, your dream is your dream and it's nobody else's, you know, so you gotta always know what you wanna do is for you, and like my mom says, you know, what God has for you is for you and nobody else.
I wanted to ask you that question because, like, just watching you, watching your family, Chance, you know, him get married, you know, your niece and everything, it's like, is that something that was instilled in y'all, like, very, very young? Because it's like, just to see all the success that Chance has had, the success that you're having, it seems like from the time y'all was born, your parents always told you y'all could do whatever the fuck y'all want to do.
Yeah, yo. With like a figurative meeting, like we were still, you know what I'm saying, getting in trouble and shit. But like, yeah, you know, like that's definitely, since a kid, my parents have always made sure that we knew like anything is possible, you know what I'm saying? We grew up in the hood, but you know, my dad was always somebody that everybody in the neighborhood looked up to. Like he got new garbage cans, he always made sure the park was right, like everything like that. And you know what I'm saying, we in the hood, and everybody knew my pops. So, you know, like with that, envisioning being able to have a male in the household, like, anything was possible, you know, and I already knew I was fortunate without money, even though we was broke, because I had my dad, you know what I'm saying? And it's like each and every other one of my friends, they ain't had no pops, you know what I'm saying? So even though I hated him coming up to the school all the time, you know what I'm saying, pulling up at the park like, yo, what you doing? You know what I'm saying? Like, at the end of the day, like that really pushed me and my brother, I think, to know that it's something further than all of this. Like, you could take it wherever you want to take it. You could do whatever. Like, I see my pops go from going to Simeon, growing up in the hood, to working with Barack Obama, you know what I'm saying, to running the West Wing, to doing all types of, you know what I'm saying? And to me, that's success, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not always judged by materials, money, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I feel you.
Yeah, it definitely seems like just in general, there's this amazing sense of community in Chicago that you don't necessarily see in all cities. Like, you and your brother support it heavily. It seems like artists, even if your music is very different, it seems like you guys all support each other, which is amazing. It creates like a nice, creative, like safe space.
Yeah. Definitely, yeah. The vibes definitely come intact, I think, when all the artists put their heads together. I think the biggest thing is that, you know, all of us really came up going to Harold Washington Community Center downtown, which was like an open mic, and it was like a spoken word, you dig? And, you know, everybody was there. Like, Chance was there, Vic was there, Saba, No Name, me, Lucky X, Mick Jenkins, all types of different, like, and we all literally grew up together, like, in this community. And even outside of that, like, you know, like, me and my brother, like, you know, we used to be in the streets, like, we used to be outside, so we knew everybody, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, like, even down to, like Dirk, you know what I'm saying? Like, his cousin from my hood, you know what I'm saying? Like, and that's my boy, I go way back with him, you know what I'm saying? Louis, like, that's the first person in Chicago that I made a record with. Like, the first person to give me a chance, I was like 16, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, like, he used to be in my neighborhood, you know what I'm saying? So, like, once you keep going, I remember Louis always told me this. He was like, don't forget about me. And I still, like, I'm like, bro, you crazy. He's been nominated for Grammys, but that was there before me and Chance. I can't, you know, like, we definitely pushing that narrative, but that help and creativity, like, taking artists to the next level, like, that's been there, man. Like, it's been there in Chicago.
Would you guys ever work on like a doc or something just to show? Because all of these things that you're saying is stuff that I never knew. But it's like when people perceive Chicago, they think of it as all just one way. Would you ever do like a doc or a movie just to show some of these things? Like,
definitely, man. You know, my first project was called Mainstream Music back in the day, and I think I was like a senior in high school, so this was probably like 2014, and I put Spenzo, Herbo, because I didn't know Herbo forever, put Herbo and Louis like on that tape, and that was like the first time, like, it's like y'all said, it was only showing one side of Chicago, and I was like, man, I really want to cross over. Like, I don't want people thinking that, you know what I'm saying, because there was this, I think, overarching kind of perspective that people were trying to lay on Chance and a lot of other people, which was like, this the light and this the dark. And what I've always said is, like, without Chief Keef, there would be no documentation of what really happened in the city of Chicago. And we really got to put that into perspective. Like, there's so many different things that you reported on that you ain't see on the news. Like, when we saw Chief Keef on CNN, which is around the time that he was blowing up, they were comparing Chicago to the Middle East. Like, they weren't talking about, like, not having no schools. Like, they weren't talking about not having no resources. And, you know, media is framed very, very often. And I think the difference between me and Chance now with independence is that we're in charge of what that is and what that story is, so.
So how far along are you in the next project?
Yo, so the project is done, yo. I did the cover art for it. It's really dope. You know, the name of the project is The American Reject. And basically, the reason why it's called American Reject is the last project.
Taking a risk on the cover art again? Because, you know,
yeah, I'm taking a risk on the cover art again, yo, because you know what? Like, I can't, like I said, I can't not say and talk about what I'm here to say. So, you know, the point of The American Reject is basically, like, as I started thinking about it as an American, everybody, no matter if we're accepted in one place of America, we are rejects. And that goes for people that, you know, are living trans lives, people that consider themselves LGBTQ, also African Americans, also Caucasians, also police officers, also janitors, also, you know, KKK members, like all of those things. Like, you know, I want to put that in perspective because my whole goal as an artist has always been to bring people together. And I think that sometimes to even out the playing ground, you have to bring everybody on the same, you know, kind of playing field. You know what I'm saying? And that's like the real overall goal, is to keep putting things into perspective and to always make good music, always make timeless music, but also always put out a message, because we are still moving forward, you know what I'm saying? Up and forward. That's what, you know, Ye says a lot, you know what I'm saying? Like, and, you know, that's what me and, you know, my homies, we all about, you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Dope. I've never been to Chicago yet. I'm ashamed.
You've never been to Chicago?
Like, unless the
so you
airport
missed out on
counts.
the music and the food?
I know,
Harrods,
it's
like,
yeah.
you never been to Harrods?
I'm vegetarian, so
But yeah, I've been to Harrods before. I've been to Chicago a few times.
Yeah.
Where
One of my
hasn't
friends is
Wayno
a
been,
dean
though?
there. Yeah.
Okay.
My friend,
Word.
he moved from Philly out there, and then he became a dean at a school.
What school?
I can't remember. I don't know exactly the school, but
Because
yeah,
I went
he's
to
been there
urban
for a minute.
prep, so like, you know what I'm saying?
Wayno's well traveled.
Hey man, I believe in being around the people, man. That's all.
They're,
No, that's
they're,
what's up,
they're
yeah.
probably at a college. Usually deans are at colleges.
No,
No,
we
he's
had
at middle
deans.
school.
Oh,
Yeah,
middle
we had,
school.
yeah.
Deans at middle school? Oh,
in
snap.
Chicago, they do.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a dean. That's why I was even
Actually, there are
asking.
deans at middle school. My bad.
Yeah, what are you talking about?
I've been in school in a minute, man.
Were you
Yeah, I
a
ain't
good
been
kid
to
in
school in a
school?
minute. You said what?
Were you a good kid in school? Sounds like your brother might have caused trouble sometimes.
Yeah, I think I was a good kid in school. You know, I really liked school. I always liked the idea of being able to go see all my homies and, you know what I'm saying, catch up on everything that we were seeing, like, in the streets and whatnot, because that's really the only time we got to talk. I went to an all-boys school. I went to urban prep, so I went to school in the hood. Chance went to school at Jones, you know, selective enrollment school. Shout out to urban prep. 100% of the kids that go to school there, they all are college bound and accepted and whatnot. But, you know, it was like a real dope experience because all the kids go in there off of a raffle. So everybody from different parts of the city, and, you know, we all black, so most of us from the hood. But it's like a good chance and an opportunity every day for me to be able to, one, show off my rap skills, be able to link up with my homies, and then also just converse about, you know, the streets and, like, what's going on. You know what I'm saying? So.
What, you know, I always want to ask, how do you and Chance really avoid all that, though? Like, if you guys knew all the guys who were really in the streets, and, like,
Yeah.
for the most part, right?
What you mean avoid it?
And, like...
No, we in the streets.
No, but what I mean, like, avoid going that route, though. You get me? Like,
I
you know,
mean, like we said,
because
my dad,
that shit does suck you in, and it almost becomes like a cycle, right?
well, you know, like the reality of it, man, is just like, you know, like I got a really strong dad, yo. And you gotta know what you want, man. Like in life, you know what I'm saying? Like most of my friends are dead and are in jail. Like I got one of my best friends, literally he here with me today. You know what I'm saying? Like, and we both gone through hard times. You know what I'm saying? Like, but at the end of the day, like it's about a decision, man. Because like for real, like. You, like my dad, even growing up, you know what I'm saying? You could be dead or you could be in jail, especially in Chicago, man. And most of your friends not gonna make that cut. So it really comes down to you at the end of the day and like what you wanna do. And my thing is that the best idea I ever had was to follow my dreams. And I'm thankful, you know what I'm saying? My parents let me do that because that let me see options. Like, because at the same time, when I was a junior in high school, I was selling out shows up the street for me, 300, 400 kids. My homies doing dirt. You know what I'm saying? And they with me still, but they getting that like, I'm like, I don't gotta do that. And they knew I didn't have to do that. And there is, you know, overarching, you see it with Herbo, you see it with Dirk, where, you know, we good people, you know what I'm saying, in Chicago. If it's somebody coming up in the hood, like ain't nobody gonna try to, we don't do that in Chicago. And I know like, you could probably see the vibrations of that, like just through the people and how we talk about it. Like, you know what I'm saying? If somebody's on the uprise, we all on the uprise. You know what I'm saying?
How much do you credit parenting? Because, you know, like,
A lot.
I mean, I listen to like
yeah.
even Herbo, like even like Born Like I'm Kobe, one of my favorite mixtapes, and I'm listening to him just talk about like his uncles and like like the path they took, and pretty much like it was hard. It's making these constant decisions to not take the same path they do.
Yeah.
You get me? So
Yeah, no, that's facts.
And it's not much parent in there, but he's trying to like figure it out himself.
Yeah, yo, I'll say that like in Chicago, yo, like everybody, that's why we all knew each other. Like everybody, friends were family, yo. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like you see like all these cliques and all the stuff that, you know, like you really always reported on, like that's real life, like family. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like there's people that I know definitely consider me closer than they family, you know what I'm saying? And when I was younger and I wasn't fully understanding and as knowledgeable about what my parents had really done for me and still like in this kid mindset, I used to think the same thing, you know what I'm saying? And there is so important, you know, to have family, to have moms, to have grandmas, to have these things. But also in Chicago, like I said, I think like we just grow up fast. Like, you know, you got to make a decision, like, you know, and it's not hard to see where it's going to end. Like I'm telling you, like my first friend died when I was 14 and like that hasn't stopped since, you know what I'm saying, since then. You know what I'm saying? Like you see it. Like my little cousin see it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I be with my little cousin, like he already know. You know what I'm saying? Like, and
yeah.
Well, Taylor, we're excited to have you and your brother around. You guys do a lot for your community. You make
Thank
great
you.
music,
Absolutely.
and like we're all grateful for it. The subtext of this, by the way, Akademiks is thinking about putting his media career on hold to start a family. He cannot wait to
Yo,
start a
that's what's up, G.
Look at his face.
That's fire. That's crazy.
Look at his face.
Listen.
Is it a boy or a girl?
I see. I was on your Instagram page. I see. You know,
Right.
you have a nice family
Yeah, I got
going
my
on.
son, yeah.
But I'm not there yet. I'm
You
not
not there yet?
Mentally, I'm
He's
not there.
considering
You there,
it, though.
bro.
He's considering
Listen,
it.
I was telling them I'm not even ready for kids yet. I was told early on, like when I was in college, I got great advice. I think it's true. It was like, yo, you're ready for a kid, or you'll know when you're ready when you're willing to put like someone else's life in front of yours. I don't think I'm there yet, but I'm still selfish.
Just also know that like you probably just gonna have a kid and that's just gonna make you ready. Like that's what
mean,
happened
that's
to me.
how it
You know what I'm
works.
saying?
Having my boy.
Like,
That's
yeah.
my boy. I
That's how it
want to pick the
works.
time, and can it be perfect?
No, yo, like that's
know.
like, you know what I'm saying? It is perfect. That's the whole beauty of it. Is
Exactly.
that, you know what I'm saying? You're not in control of it. You know what I'm saying? But you gonna get there, Joe. Like I'm seeing you, bro. You got the.
Well, as long as it's with the right
you gonna
person.
get there, Joe.
As long as it's with the right person.
Yeah, man.
You know what I mean?
That's so important because, you know, I love my BM. She's amazing, you know what I'm saying? And I think, like, without her and, one, just being as understanding about me as she is, and then, two, like, my career and, like, what I do. Like, I'm in New York, you know what I'm saying? I go back today. I had to leave yesterday. I was out of town before that 2 days. Like, it's not easy, especially when you're a young mom, you know what I'm saying? But, so shout out to her, you know what I'm saying? Shout out to my BM, she the best, you know what I'm saying? But you need
You
that.
refer to her as the best mom.
Yeah, the best mom. My BM is my best mom,
Best
you know what I'm
mom,
saying?
I like
lit.
that. That's really sweet.
And I'm
for real.
today
Wait
years
about
old
to see
hearing about that.
Wait about to see
Yeah, best father.
Yeah, best mom, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
man. Yo, Taylor, thank you so much for coming
Thank
through.
you all so
Yeah,
much.
man.
We're looking
Really
forward to the
appreciate it,
project and come to Complex Con, Chicago in July.
Yeah.
We're going to be there.
Yo, if you're doing anything in the community and you need some extra help, I'm there.
Yo, definitely. I
Volunteers.
got you. I'm gonna really hit you up and we're gonna take this further than this. Let's do it. Thank
Absolutely.
you guys for
Down
having me
too,
on the
man.
show.
I'm
yo.
down too.
No, bro. Got you.
Fist
Hell
bumps,
yeah.
right? Fist bumps.
Oh, yeah, fist
We
bumps.
all done
No
it.
hugs, no
Yeah.
kisses,
Yeah.
nothing.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you
Yeah.
tomorrow on Everyday Struggle.
Peace.
You're